welcome to another exciting video. Today we'll be learning a bit more about web components and slots. Here we'll see how we can build flexible HTML with HTML templates using slots and web components. Now HTML templates are part of the web components specification. In this lesson we will learn what are HTML templates, how to use them, and how to use the powerful HTML templates slots inside a web component. So let's start with creating a basic template. Now a basic template could be wrapped inside a template tag. So here we are saying template, and within this template all I'm trying to do is put a div with basic text, and let's close this for now. And also let's go ahead and create a form within this. So we'll have a form as well. Within that form, let's have an input. So this is the template that I've created. Notice when I'm saving this, it's not coming up on the page at all. So I don't see that template anywhere on the page being rendered. Now, in order to render this, what we need to do is, first of all, assign it some attribute ID. So we are saying this is the ID attribute and this is the value for that. So we are treating it as a template. Now, once we have this, the next thing is that we'll have to rely on the script block now. And within the script block, you can see we have our old custom component. We'll keep it as is for now. And let's go ahead and try including this template in our DOM now. So let's go ahead and have a div tag over here. So we'll say div, and this div will also have some ID. Let's give it an ID, call it div. And now we'll go inside the script tag, and here we'll have some way of identifying how to get that template. So we'll say let's const template is equal to document dot query selector, and here we'll provide the ID. So the ID is template. Now we have the reference to this template that we created. Now let's get the div as well. So here we'll say div, and we're going to do the same thing for this as well. So let's copy this line and put it over here, and the ID is div over here. So we now have template and div. Now what we need to do is append this template within this div. So we'll say div dot, and we have this append child method, and within that what we'll do is we'll make use of the template dot, and then it has this content attribute, and the content attribute then has this method clone nodes. So we'll say clone node bracket. Within that bracket you will specify the attribute as true. So this basically copies everything with the events and all. So if you set it as false, it will not copy over the events and everything else associated with it. It will be like a blank copy for you. So now let's go ahead and save this and see it in action. So now I have appended this template within this div, and now you can see that the output is coming over here. So we have this basic text coming up, which was the part of this div, and then below that we have this form input form. So we have the text box coming up as well. So this template is now being rendered. And similarly, we can have another div which will replicate the scenario if you want to. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's copy this and let's call another div. So we'll say it as another div. So now we'll go, and here we'll again have another selector defined. So let's call it as const another div, and this time also we'll copy this statement and we'll just replace the ID over here as another div, and again we'll copy this line as well because that's what we are doing. We are just creating another thing. So here we have the template, and now you can see we have two templates rendered over here. So that's one way of handling templates. You have the template defined, and then you make use of a query and append these together over here. Now what you can do also is further customize this template. And how you can do that, let's go ahead and check this out. So here what I'll do is I'll get rid of all these divs and all. Okay, let's get rid of it. So I'll comment it out. So now all we are left with is this const template. Let's move it a bit on the top. So here at the beginning of this script tag we have the template referred over here. Now you'll notice we have this our custom component. Within the custom component we can make use of a method called this dot attach shadow. So attach shadow is going to have this mode as open. And the next thing that we do is we'll say this dot shadow root, and within this shadow root we'll say append child. And what we'll do is we will be making use of this template that we had. So we'll say template dot content dot clone node. So this is the same statement that we used when we had our script version, if you see. So here in our script we had the same line which said template.content.clone node true, and that is what we are using over here as well. Now rest of the stuff remains same, so let's save this. And here now you can see that inner HTML has been replaced by this template text, and when you click on that you still get that event listener kicking in, hello from custom component. So this connected callback gets overridden when you try to include the template as part of the custom component. That's fine. We can still have this text. So here, instead of hello world component, we can just go ahead and replace it over here as basic text. And we can even have the whole h1 tag. So let's do that over here. So the text part is there, and let's save this. So you have the hello world component, you click on it, you get the alert message, and you still have the text box coming up. So that's all part of the template now. Within this template, we can further go ahead and enhance it, and that's where slots come into play. So slots are like placeholders. So I can have a slot on top of a form like this slot, and I can give it a name. So let's give it a name as slot 1. So this is slot 1. Similarly, I can have another slot below the form, and I can just name it as, let's say, slot 2. So these two slots are present now, and these two slots can be used in our template where we have rendered it. So if you see the HTML portion, now we don't need these two divs. Let's remove these as well. And here in the hello world section, that's the component we are rendering, and within this you can have slots defined, and slots could be anything. So you just need to have an element, and then you make use of the slot attribute, and you specify this is slot 1 by that name, and you can have slot 1 text goes here, and then you can copy this, paste it over here, and this is going to be slot 2. So I can say slot 2 text goes here, save this, and now when you see the output shows over here, slot 1 text goes here, and then you see the text box is coming up, and then below that we have slot 2. So these are basically taking the space within the template where we have actually defined it. So if I go ahead and try viewing this within this hello world content, and let's go ahead and check the input tag. So see over here, slot 1 is this, and within that slot the paragraph is coming up, and then below that you have another slot, slot 2, and then we have the paragraph tag. So that is how it is taking place. Now the good thing about this placeholder or slot that we have is that you can have any kind of content within it. For example, I can have an iframe, and that iframe could have the slot attribute. So instead of paragraph tag, I could have an iframe tag. So let's try that out. So here I'll be removing the first paragraph, and I'll be replacing it with an iframe tag. Let's save this. And there you go. We have an iframe coming up in place of slot 1. Now, the only concern over here when you are trying to make use of templates is that the script needs to be below the template. So here what I've done is I moved the template block in the head section, and then below that we have our script defined. Using this approach, I'm able to clearly make use of these slots as well. Now there's one more way of handling this all together within the script block itself, and that is you can just move everything from here inside the script block, and then make use of it. So you can have it as a template string. For example, I can just comment this out altogether. Within the script, what I'll do is I'll create a template string, as you can see over here, and this template string is now being used to generate this HTML template, dynamic template. So if you're not very fond of, having all these HTML blocks and you prefer working with script itself, then this approach is also recommended in such scenarios. But you get the idea how we can create a dynamic HTML template using slots and custom web components. Now let's quickly understand these two pieces that we have. This dot attach shadow mode open and this dot shadow root dot append child. Now this dot attach shadow with mode open basically attaches a shadow DOM to the custom element with an open mode. This allows external code to access the shadow DOM. Then we have the other line, this dot shadow root dot append child. This appends a deep clone of the content of the template to the shadow DOM of the custom element. So just to summarize, this piece of code sets up a reusable custom HTML element with encapsulated styling and structure through the use of shadow DOM.